Hey boys and girls, today we are going to make owls inspired by the artist Charley Harper. You just saw a bunch of the owls and a bunch of his artwork in my presentation, so I'm so excited to make some of his work. We're first going to start with the feathers at the top of our owl. I know they look like ears, but really they are feathers. I started with two pointy lines going up and then connected it with a curve at the top. One thing I like to do before I go for it with my Sharpie is I like to use my finger to kind of air draw where I want my line to go. It helps me to visualize it. Draw two lines that go down at a slight curve for the body of my owl. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the top of my eyes that lead into my beak. I'm going to start with a little V in the middle of where my head is, and then I'm going to connect that V with two large kind of flat curves that extend a little bit past the body. Just touching up a couple areas that didn't quite connect, no worries. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my eyes of my owl. I'm starting with two smaller half circles, and then I'm going to add another ring around it. Owl eyes are obviously pretty big, so that's why I'm adding a couple layers. I'm also adding a shine in the top right corner for the reflection of my owls. Maybe that's the moonlight reflecting into my eyes. I'm going to go ahead and color in the large pupil of my owl with my Sharpie. Definitely going to make it look a little bit more like an owl at this point. So now I'm going to go ahead and add another kind of curve from that point from the beak of my owl down to the sides. Again, just adding some more sections to make my owl a little bit more interesting, some graphic elements. I'm doing two really large curves, almost like two rainbows with two V's for the feet in the middle. I'm not going to connect the bottom yet because I am going to add them on a branch in a bit. I just added a couple little bumpy lines for some feather tufts on his head. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in my branch. You guys, this line does not have to be straight. It can be bumpy. It can be thick, thin. It can go in and out. However you want to make your branch. It could be a really thick branch your owl is sitting on, or it could be a thinner one. Now let's think about what else is going to be on the body of our owl. And of course your owl does not have to look just like mine. I am going to add two wings that curve and then get a little bit thinner as you go down. And then I'm going to add kind of like a little belly with a zigzag line, and then add some feathers on that belly in a bit. You can add some extra branches or leaves to the branch that your owl is sitting on. I just added one little guy there, but you can add more if you'd like. And then I'm going to think about what else do I want to add to my owl. Maybe I want to start to add some patterns, some lines. We are going to be doing a lot of the patterns with crayon or oil pastel in a bit, but I decided to add some short lines that start closer together at the top of the eye, and then they get a little bit further apart as they go down. Just some little U's or V's, or adding a little texture to the belly. You can add lines like mine, or you can do something totally different. Now, I think I'm going to add maybe a moon in the background. You could add, of course, you can make your owl during the day, but obviously we know owls are nocturnal, and so he's usually wide awake at night. So that's why I have a moon there. Now I'm going to grab my either crayons or oil pastels for some lines and texture that we're going to add to our owls. I'm using oil pastels, but again, use whatever you'd like. Just make sure that it is made out of wax. It is, because we are going to be doing a wax resist with some paint a little bit later, so we want these lines to really shine through when we add that paint in a bit. Now guys, the colors are going to be up to you. I'm going to make my eyes of my owl yellow because I want him to look like he's glowing in the night. I'm going to go ahead and explore different types of line. I'm making some really kind of tall and skinny wavy lines on the top here to add some feather texture. You could do dash lines, you could do X's, you could do polka dots even if you wanted to, but just start filling in the different sections of your owl with fun lines. I think I'm going to continue that kind of straight line radiating out from the eyes. I just picked this fun pink because my owl doesn't have to be super realistic. It can be if you want to. Now I'm going to add some lines again to my wing area. I'm doing some zigzag lines. Obviously not super realistic, but remember, Charley Harper chose to simplify his animals and use different lines and shapes. He wasn't trying to make them look like a photograph. He added his own style. So again, I'm just adding texture. I'm doing some dash lines here. Because I will be painting over these in a bit. So I'm doing dash lines on the body. Whatever you would like to do for these sections is up to you. If there's some smaller areas that you just want to color, like I'm going to color in the feet with this kind of yellowish orange here. Also, a fun thing you could do is you could grab a white crayon or oil pastel and you could add some lines on the belly or really wherever you want. I know you can't really see it in this video. You might not be able to see it when you're doing it either, but these are going to be kind of like magic lines because when we do add our paint, they will shine through when we add that paint on top of it. So you could take your white and add some feathers. Maybe you want to add, I'm going to add stars in a bit, but you could definitely do white in the background. Again, I'm also adding a little bit of texture to my branch. I'm just adding some purples and blues. I'm probably going to paint the branch brown, so I'm just going to add some other colors so when I paint it, they will stand out. I'm also going to color in my leaves with a couple different greens. Now let's think about my background. Like I said, I have my moon here, so I'm just adding a little bit of texture to my moon, maybe with some polka dots, making some circles for the craters that we would see from very, 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 very far away. And I think I'm gonna also add some stars in the background. I'm gonna take some yellow and I'm gonna press really hard and make a small little circle. And I can also make my some spirals, pressing hard and then kind of spiraling out, getting a little lighter on a few of my stars. This is going to give the illusion that they are twinkling. You don't want to do that to every single star because you don't want every single star to look like it's glowing. You can make some of your stars smaller, you can make some of them bigger. Oh my goodness, I realized I totally forgot to draw a tail, so go ahead and add that in too. It's just going to continue from the body going down. I'm going to add some lines with my oil pastels, again, just to continue it hanging down there. I'm just going to go ahead and finish adding my oil pastel or crayon to the rest of my picture. Again, filling in my stars, finishing my tail here. Once I am all done adding these lines, remember I'm not coloring in my owl, I'm not coloring in the background, I'm just adding some lines for texture. I'm going to be ready for the next step of painting. For the painting portion of this, you are going to need, believe it or not, aluminum foil. Now, if you have your own watercolor set, go ahead and get that. But if you don't have watercolors, we're going to do a really cool trick with aluminum foil and washable markers. Even if you have paint, you can actually try this fun trick. So get some aluminum foil. If you don't have foil, you can also do a Ziploc baggie, that works too. And go ahead and gather some washable markers. Now I'm just grabbing a bunch of warm colors right now. You can really choose whatever colors you want. Your owl does not have to look realistic, so you can pick any colors. You can even lay out the whole rainbow if you wanted to. Now here's how this is gonna work. I'm gonna go ahead and take one of my colors. I'm gonna start with this pink, and I'm gonna color basically a little square right on my foil. This is going to act as my paint. So you guessed it, my foil is gonna be my paint palette. I'm gonna go ahead and lay out my colors and get ready to paint. So now you're going to need a paintbrush and some water, and all you're going to do is dip that brush in water, go ahead and pick up some of that marker, and voila, you have turned that marker into paint. What that water is doing is it is activating the marker, the ink, to make it liquid, and now you are able to fly through this painting. You're going to start painting in all of your sections with whatever colors you would like. You can even have fun and mix colors on your palette. Now, if you do need to add more color to your palette, make sure that you are coloring with your marker in a new dry section on your foil. You don't want to color in that same wet area. If you have real paints, you can even switch to real paint. I'm just showing you how both look on my picture, but there is no pressure to use both. All right, guys, I hope you have fun making your Charley Harper inspired owl. I cannot wait to see the finished result. Don't forget to take a photo and submit it to the Google form I provided. Have fun.